Hi, everybody. Welcome to Just Gaming Things, where we bring a queer perspective on video games, gaming, news, and nerdy stuff. And I'm Jam, and here we have with us Chalora, Koga,
Hi.
Ruby,
Hello.
and Spin.
Hello.
We're here.
We're here.
We're here. Yes, episode 3. We're here.
Yeah.
We're killing it. Look at us. Very
Right?
proud of us. We're doing great things.
Yeah.
Great teams.
Yes.
We really are.
But-
Koga's back.
True. Yeah,
Hello.
Koga's back, everybody. Yeah.
Miss you.
We missed
Yeah,
you
we missed you last week, Koga.
Oh, I missed you all too, and also missed my internet.
Oh,
I
Yeah,
can
that's the
only
worst.
imagine.
That's the worst.
I can only imagine. For as bad as sometimes being on the internet can be, sometimes, when you don't have it, you're like, what do I do with myself? What is life? What's going on?
Yeah. Losing the internet, the worst.
Right?
And you really think you're not dependent upon it, and then all of a sudden you realize, wait, I'm way more dependent on it than I ever thought I was.
We hate to see it.
I hate to see it. But, well, I guess we'll go ahead and get into our first story. And since Koga's back, he will take us there.
Yes.
Ooh, goodness. Alex Hutchison. Alex Hutchison, 2 days ago, made a tweet over on the Twitters. He is the creative director at Google Stadia subsidiary Typhoon Studios, and he said that he thinks streamers should pay game publishers and developers for a license to stream their games.
Well,
The tweet that he put out there was streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they didn't pay for. Hold on. Because they use music they didn't pay for should be more worried by the fact that they're streaming games they didn't pay for as well. It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it. The real truth is streamers should be paying developers and publishers of the games they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content they use. So of course this blew up on Twitter, and
maybe
not
so.
a lot of people agree with it. Not a lot of people agree
so.
with it.
Yeah.
I do not.
I personally, I wouldn't pay to use a license, and if that's something that a developer or publisher feels that there's something we should start doing, please let me know so I can just not buy the game. But how do you
Right.
all feel about that? Do you feel that we should be paying for a license just to stream the games?
It's an interesting take because technically we are not allowed to make any content with anything that we don't legally own. So copyright wise, anyone can technically take our streams down if they decide that we're streaming their game and they don't like the way that we're streaming their game. They can DMCA take us down because they didn't technically give us permission to stream it. That could happen with music. That can happen with literally anything, alerts, emotes, whatever it might be. However, at the same time, there have been games that have streaming licenses in their terms of service. There are multiple games that say that you are allowed to broadcast the game as long as you don't broadcast it for the sole purpose of playing their music in the background. I know that for a fact for Kingdom Hearts, for example. That was a thing that I remember seeing in the opening scene, like in the opening menu right off the bat. And I'm sure that's the case for other games. I'm sure others have similar stuff like that. And I think another thing is also like we're technically doing free promo for these games. Like if you think about live streaming and its relationship with the game Among Us, for example, one out of many examples that we could give this year alone. I don't think that game would be as successful as it is if there wasn't such a huge audience on Twitch watching that game. and for there to be an audience to watch that game, there has to be a creator making that content. And we also know that there was a big issue with Nintendo, because for a couple years there, Nintendo had a whole thing where they didn't allow anyone to make content out of their like IPs. Like, people couldn't legally stream their stuff, people couldn't legally make YouTube videos, and then they had a creators program people had to sign in for, and it was a whole thing. They had to get approved, and then they took a big percentage of their earnings anyway. It was a mess, and Nintendo definitely got a bad reputation from that. So I think it's very silly. I think it's fair for, like, if a developer was like, hey, if you want to stream our game, you have to pay us like a fee or a license or whatever it might be, and then it should be on the creator. Like, okay, I don't, like Koga said, like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to pay, so I'm not going to stream your game. Enjoy your game, have fun, but I'm not going to stream it, and I'm not going to get it or whatever it might be. But no, like, developers benefit way too much from this. I have so much to say about this, so I'm gonna let y'all go ahead before I take over this entire section. But yeah, what do you think, Spin?
I have some thoughts. Okay. Also, I could also probably rant for like a whole hour about this, but I was just thinking, like, because I know a lot of people were making comparisons to, like, well, what if you streamed a movie on your Twitch? But, like, it's not the same thing. Because
right,
with a movie, like, if you think about a movie, it's pretty much the same experience, no matter who is watching the movie, no matter like where you're watching the movie. Everyone's gonna be watching the same movie, right?
yeah.
But if you're playing a game, it's an interactive experience. So, like, if I play a game and if you play a game, we're gonna have different experiences. So, like, it's not the same content, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's just baffling to me that people would make that comparison, you know? I did pull up some tweets that I found really interesting that were in response. Okay, so in response to the original tweet, Jacksepticeye tweeted, "I find this thinking extremely ironic, considering that you have a fan art of me, a streamer, as your banner from when I played Savage Planet. And sure enough, if you go look at Alex Hutchinson's Twitter banner, he does have a fan art of... he does have someone else's art that is a fan art of Jacksepticeye on his Twitter banner. He still has that there. And not only that, but I did pull up a tweet
Find the
from the
receipts,
original
honey.
artist. Yes, I did pull up a tweet from the original artist, who goes by @rare_magpie on Twitter, because we want to give proper credit, because
I love this. This became a reading situation. Like, we're just reading this Alex individual.
Read him for Phil.
Right.
Read him for Phil.
So, this Twitter banner that he has, funny thing is, not only is he using the fan art of, a Let's Player who played one of his games, but he cropped the original artist's watermark out of the image and did not credit them. So he's saying this.
Oh, wow.
He's saying, "Oh, you should pay a licensing fee for streaming this game," and yet he's using stolen art and cropping the artist's watermark out of it for his Twitter banner.
So interesting how that works.
The hypocrisy is just like, what?
Love to see it.
Oh my god.
I saw that on Twitter the other night, and I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to do this on the podcast."
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's such an interesting conversation to have, though, because it's just like the idea of, you're saying that someone has to pay for a license to be able to use the content, but for the most part, and for a lot of streamers, they either get a free license from a developer to be able to play the game on a stream for some bigger people. And for smaller people, they're buying the games themselves to be able to play. And the conversation can be had about more, smaller developers with games that maybe don't have as many choices where it's solely to tell a story in a very linear path. But also, like, it's just a very weird approach to take in an industry where we've already kind of seen one of the bigger names in the industry attempt to do this, Nintendo, right? They tried to push back against people playing their games and streaming them and showing content online. And then they eventually had to cave because enough people were like, this doesn't really make sense if people are forced to pay $60 for a game and then you're telling them they can't play it online for other people, when at the end of the day, if we were to turn around and I did this at my house and bought this game and played it for 20 people who came over to my house one day, it's the same idea. They're just not here. And it also kind of shows that they don't really know a lot of times what streaming is about, especially like within the streaming space, that it's not so much about specifically watching someone play a game so you don't play the game yourself, but more to be a part of a community, it seems like sometimes. So it's just very interesting that you would take the approach of saying, oh, well, what we're going to do is say we should get rid of licenses or free licenses for games, right? Because that's basically what he's saying. It's like you're getting a free license for this game, when in all actuality, I pay $60 to get this game to be able to play it. So is it really free for me? So should I have to pay for it twice, or am I just going to pay you for a license and then I can stream it? And how much is that license for? What control do you get over what I say in that content? Like, and that's the other thing. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And comparing it to other business is weird to me as well.
And you touched on something very important as well, and that's something that I was gonna touch on before I passed it over to y'all a little bit, because I didn't want to monopolize the conversation. But there are plenty of situations where developers will either reach out to you, or there are websites where creators can sign up to either be paid to play a game, or they can just sign up for a free key and you just play the game for you play the game for free, but you also have this kind of like, not obligation, but as a courtesy, you should make content out of it, and that's kind of the exchange there. So I don't know if this person is just very out of touch with gaming and with the gaming community, or if they just wanted a hot take for the sake of engagement on socials or something like that, because these days I feel like it's so common for developers to just like almost beg creators to like stream their games, and they appeal to them all the time, and they have a bunch of stuff like beforehand where they kind of hype things up, and they get deals with Twitch, they get deals with like YouTube Gaming, and they do all these situations where there's emotes, there's like front page slots, there's all these things. They get involved with charity streams just so they can appear at like Games Done Quick, for example, or other situations like that. So as far as the movie comparison and the music comparison, you can always claim as well fair use. There's plenty of channels on YouTube that do reactions to movies. Obviously, they don't show the entire movie. They obviously cut out a lot of parts from it. But you can also just be like, well, they're technically showing the movie, but also the content is transformative enough. Like, the concept is not just, hey, here I am showing you the game. Like, no, there's commentary associated with it. There's theories a lot of the times. If it's a story game, there's sometimes shenanigans that take place, and you're just doing silly things while you play the game. There's speed running. There's, plenty of different types of way to play one game. So I think it's very silly. What were your thoughts on this entire thing, Chalora, as you saw it?
I think it's hogwash. I mean, if I'm gonna have to pay for licensing, so usually how like things like this work, like if there's a mandatory cost to a craft or whatever, on a platform, then they automatically have to start paying you because they know that there's an internal cost. So if I start paying for licensing for games, Twitch is going to have to start paying everybody who streams. And then they're going to hinder who is allowed to stream. Like, it's going to cause this rift of issues. So I just think it's ridiculous. And I do know that they have a program now where you are allowed to watch whole films as long as it's on Amazon Prime, for example. But I think that's based on everybody is under a subscription service, right? Because you have to be a Prime member, and I think only Prime members can watch with you or subs.
Yeah, it's Prime members or like you have to be an Amazon Prime Video subscriber, and you also have to have that available in your area. So not just stuff that has to do with you being a subscriber, but also you have to have that licensed in your region, or else there's like conflict there and you can't watch along with everybody else.
But kind of like Jam said, like, if I invite 20 friends over, what's the difference? Because, like, I don't know. I think also, if you're a speedrunner, obviously you're transforming the game into a different content, because it's like people aren't looking at the game anymore. They're looking at how fast the person playing is going.
Right.
If you take the speedrunner away, people will not care about the game the same way.
Right.
If it is just no camera, no commentary, just someone playing the game, it's still more interesting than just like the developer playing the game, for example, because they've already done it. They know what's going on. Maybe this person is new to it. Maybe they've played it 1,000 times. Maybe they...
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows what they're doing? It's going to be different content than what was originally created. Whether that's a creative game like Mario Maker, where you're actually making something in the Maker game, or it's very like cookie cutter. I think it's always going to be a different experience, just like Spin said as well. So, I don't know.
Yeah, video gaming is
something new.
Yeah, it's just like video game. Like playing a video game is not this. Like it's meant to be this experience where you're kind of telling a different story, especially in games that allow you to make all of these different choices that aren't specifically just telling one single story, right? Like I feel like there is some difference to, I think, sometimes the type of game and the style of game that could maybe be argued, but at the end of the day, a person who's creating content with the game is creating something different than probably what the developer originally intended in the first place a lot of the time, right? It's typically not exactly what the developer had in mind. Like, when I play Paper Mario, the developer wasn't expecting me to fall into the hole in the ground all the time, or whatever the case may be, and make jokes about it, right? That's not what they expected. They expected I would just learn the mechanic and go through it. So you're creating a new form of content with another piece of content. And so that's the thing to me that's interesting, is that they're treating it as though you aren't doing something with that content, that it's not transformative in some way. And that's the thing that I find weird about it.
I just also want to add that, like, some games don't transform without the streamers or like people that glorify them. Yeah. So like Pokemon Puzzle League, it made a huge comeback in like 2013 or something. I don't know if anyone remembers that at all, but like they've had like a huge, I think it was like a world tournament or something for Pokemon Puzzle League. That game came out in like 1998 or something. Like,
yeah, a long time ago.
People went out and bought Nintendo 64s on eBay. People bought the game again. People bought controllers again. And like Nintendo could have taken advantage of that opportunity. And I think that probably one of the reasons we see a lot of these remakes that they always resell on every fucking platform. Skyrim's been made like 6
5
billion more
million
times.
times.
Right.
Is because people show how glorifying and how wonderful it is, and so they're like, oh, people are still playing that, people still want that, people still like that. Like we've got like Shirley Curry on YouTube, 97-year-old lady playing Skyrim, being the cutest damn thing on the internet, and people are
So
like, oh, I want to
wholesome.
go. I want to go back and do that again. So people make the games new again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's something to be said about how communities for games keep the games and the legacies and the IPs alive for a lot of these circumstances. And you could argue that content creators are either very responsible for that, or that they are responsible for vocalizing it for big audiences, right? Because like something could be going on Steam, for example, and people are modding a certain game or whatever, but if there isn't a content creator or someone to report on that, then nobody outside of that community will know that that's going on. Like a huge example for that is Left 4 Dead 2. Like they had a huge revamp of it and the developers didn't do it. Like it was because the community was modding the game, and I think like the new update that they had was like with the new levels and everything was all fan made. They just kind of gave it the go ahead. But you could argue that if people weren't streaming it, if people weren't making YouTube videos of it, if people weren't keeping that name alive, even online in the SEO of things, of like the searchability of it all, and if nobody suddenly cared about that game, then you could argue that, that game will not be alive, or they wouldn't be able to make a sequel to it, or that studio wouldn't have enough interest to keep going and make a new game or whatever it might be. So I don't know. It's such a weird thing to me that they would say, because with games it's also so complicated, because like, okay, am I paying license for the in-game music? Am I paying license for the art? Am I paying, like, do I have to pay everyone that made that game? Like, how does that work? And even like the origins of all of this was the fact that Twitch had instructions from like record labels, and they were pressured by record labels to DMCA to remove stuff in order to avoid the DMCA takedowns. So they removed some clips from people, they removed some VODs. People have been told to like remove everything that may include any copyrighted material on it or whatever it might be. And I think it is a valid concern. Like obviously companies, will go after Twitch the same way that they went after YouTube for a while. Like you can't just upload anything on YouTube without being concerned about copyright, or about being concerned about it being taken down or whatever it might be. But it's just two different experiences altogether. You could even argue with music that if you're doing a listen party and you're just like, you're doing commentary on it and you're not necessarily just like listening to the song full on, that's transformative enough. But of course that's a whole other discussion. And I think we can move on to another story that has been kind of having some interesting reactions online for a different reason. So the first image of Tom Holland as Nathan Drake for the upcoming Uncharted movie have been, like, the first images have been released, y'all. We have a little write-up from IGN from Matt Purslow. So the first image of Tom Holland as Nathan Drake has been released, and he looks exactly how you would expect. Posted by Holland himself to Instagram and Twitter, the photograph shows him in a tan-colored shirt and cargo pants, a getup that's practically identical to the in-game counterpart. It's nice to meet you. I'm Nate, Holland wrote in his latest caption. Additionally, Naughty Dog also posted another 2 images, an artifact slotted into a dusty wood and metal surface, almost like a key, and a book featuring an image of Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan. As a Portuguese person, side note, I don't know who that is. History is not my forte. regardless, continuing on. The tweet is accompanied by a quote from Magellan. I don't know his name. I don't know her. Meet the shadowy future without fear and conquer the unknown. We know that the film will be a prequel to the Uncharted series of video games, with a young Nate Drake accompanied by a young Victor Sullivan, played by Mark Wahlberg. So that happened. What did y'all think? I was actually not. I was not upset. I was kind of neutral about it. I think Tom Holland is a cutie, so naturally I didn't look at the photo and I wasn't like disgusted. I wasn't like torn apart or anything like that. I also don't have a huge relationship with the Uncharted series. I only played the first one. I own 1 through 4, but I haven't gotten to streaming them yet, so I've been waiting until I can stream those games. But I wasn't like upset about it, but I have seen people very upset about it. They're like, this ruined my day, or like, oh, I'm not gonna watch the movie because of this. He looks way too young. And I honestly don't care. I want to see like a trailer. That's when I'm gonna react to this, because until I see him in action, until I see if the vibes are working, if the chemistry with Mark Wahlberg is working, like if all the characters work perfectly, if the environment doesn't look cheap and all of that stuff, like that's gonna be how I decide whether or not I'm excited about it. But yeah, what did y'all think?
So for me, I think my original reaction to it was like, oh, that's a little weird, because like I'm also not super invested in the Uncharted series just because I haven't played as many of them. And so I get the he seems young, but now knowing that it's a prequel, it makes me feel a little less weird about it, right? Because that was my big thing, is just like, it seemed to me that when you would see Nathan Drake in any of the games, he wasn't like older by any stretch of the imagination, but he definitely was not someone who looks Tom Holland's age, right? Tom Holland looks quite young. So it just kind of seemed like it didn't fit. Like, he didn't fit what the character was supposed to be, but now it being a prequel to the whole series of games, I think is good. The other thing I'm slightly excited about is that it's a prequel. And so it's not trying to just tell the story of one of the games. It's telling you something somewhat original, something that's happened before that hasn't been shown to you. So I think it might make a successful video game movie, which makes me slightly excited, but I don't know how to feel about it because video game movies are never really good. So I don't know. I guess I don't understand why people are mad. I like Tom Holland. He seems like a nice guy. He's a pretty good actor. He's funny, which I think Nathan Drake is supposed to kind of be funny and quippy and that kind of character. So I think his acting style and just his personality fits the character. People are upset for what reason? Like, it's a movie. They didn't, cast him as someone that he shouldn't be, like someone of a different race or anything like that. Like, I don't know. How does everyone else
Although,
feel?
let me just say, if we had a non-white lead for Nathan Drake, I would be here for that. Like, we don't need another, straight male white main character. I would be very here for it. But if people were upset about Tom Holland, I cannot even imagine the kind of reactions, unfortunately, knowing how gamers are. Just from sometimes from cosplayers alone, they're like, I'm sorry, but Sailor Moon is not black. I'm like, excuse me, she's a fictional character. Like, hello?
What? Like,
okay. Anyway, sorry.
People are crazy.
I haven't played really a lot of the Uncharted series either. Like, I have them, like the Nathan Drake collection, which I think was 1, 2, and 3 on my PlayStation account. But I don't currently have a PlayStation, so it's just up in limbo somewhere. So as for the movie, I would have understood people being upset if it wasn't like a prequel and a younger Tom Holland, because that was kind of my concern at first as well. Was kind of like, he seemed like he would be a little bit younger, but if it's a prequel, it makes sense. I'm not sure why people would be upset about it. Um, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a must see because, as Jam said, a lot of these video game movies don't turn out very well. So I'll wait for a trailer, see how I feel about it, and give it a shot. I'm not sure how because I'm not going to a movie theater anytime soon. So, but
Right.
it's something that I'm like, okay, I like Tom Holland, of course, because I like Marvel movies, so of course I'm gonna know who he is from being Spider-Man. So I'll give it a shot with the trailer, and then I'll go from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of my thoughts on it too. I like at first I was like, wow, he does seem kind of young, but now knowing it's a prequel, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. I'm not somebody who's like really familiar with the Uncharted games, so I don't like know this character. Um, so but like knowing Tom Holland from Spider-Man, I'm just like, why not, you know?
Right.
That was kind of my thoughts on it. Why not?
I think a lot of people
It's just
just
fine.
weren't informed or
It'll be
aren't
fine.
informed that it's supposed to be some sort of not necessarily prequel, but I think it's supposed to be like an origin story kind of thing. Kind of like what they did
Right.
with Tomb Raider, and they kind of casted a younger actress to play the role for the latest movie that came out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know why people just don't let someone's creative vision just go through and then judge it, you know? Because like even if they have been pretty hush hush about details about the movie. I feel like a lot of it is assumptions. People are like, oh, I think it's supposed to be a prequel because they said it's an origin story, but for all we know, they might just be taking liberties with the story anyway, and they might be removing some things from the games and implementing new storylines into the movies or something like that. And it's also to be noted that Nathan Drake progressively aged across the games. So, and movies tend to take a long time to get made. So, it wouldn't be surprising to me that they chose Tom Holland as someone who is, first of all, kind of on a prime. Like, he's killing it. He's everywhere. He's doing amazing. But also someone who they can have for like, if the movie does well, they can have for a few more years and have like maybe a trilogy made. And he can age, you know, he's going to age, like it's going to naturally happen. So I don't think it's necessarily, especially if he keeps working that hard with doing Spider-Man and doing superhero stuff and then being Nathan
Yeah.
Drake, sis is gonna age. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. And also, if they want to do like a time jump, they can just recast. You know what I mean? Just like,
Yeah.
how hard can it
But I
be
think
to be
they,
like, let's jump 5 years ahead and just cast someone else, you know, or 10 years or
you know,
something.
yeah, I think the Uncharted also falls into a similar realm that Tomb Raider does, and where the central character kind of has this ability to be a part of a bunch of different stories that don't all have to fall within the sights of a video game. And so that lends itself to being something that can be used to tell more stories a little bit better. And so it kind of makes sense that this is now, especially with how popular the Uncharted series of games was and is, right? Like it's like Tomb Raider. They never would have made more Tomb Raider stuff if the games weren't so popular, and then the movies made it even more popular, right? And then they were like, okay, let's make a new trilogy of games and another movie. It's it makes sense. Like this is the series that I would expect to be made into a movie, that could be made into a movie. I think that's the thing that makes me intrigued, is that the type of game that and story that they tell within the Uncharted games is something that doesn't have to be what's in the game. You can tell it a million different ways and still get something out of it. So I'm hoping that it is successful. Um, Tom Holland will probably draw a lot of people as well. So, you
Yeah.
know,
He's very charismatic, which I think is going to be good for him to have that role. Because Nathan Drake, that's like a main thing. I feel like um, charisma is not something that is necessarily taught. So it's one of those things where he's already familiar, he's already kind of nerdy as well, and being involved with Spider-Man, which is, by the way, the movie is kind of under Sony and, you know, Naughty Dog and PlayStation. I'm sure there's some sort of interesting tie-in there. So it's not super surprising, and I do think he's going to draw a lot of people in. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong either with them wanting kind of a younger audience as well to get into it, you know? Even though I feel like the games can be a little bit, not necessarily adult, but there's definitely like innuendos and stuff like that. But I think I think they could easily try to go for the same audience that would watch the Spider-Man movie or something like that, right? What did you think, Chalora?
For sure.
The Nathan Drake games are uncharted territory for me.
Where's the sound effect? Where's the sound effect?
Oh, wow.
Koga's gone. Koga left.
But I just kind of imagine it, you know, just like what you guys are saying. Basically, like Tomb Raider. It's gonna be the same stuff. But who knows? Maybe they'll give them another movie, and then there'll be a love interest. And I know Tom Holland has said, like, "Oh, I don't care," you know, whatever. It's like, well, use that, okay? Use that.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. I guess it's like I personally just don't care.
Yeah, no, that's valid. Like, listen, in a world where people are so polarized about everything, it's actually very nice to see people who are like, you know what, I actually don't really give a shit.
It doesn't matter all that much. Yeah.
I really don't have
Like,
a strong
really?
opinion about that, to be honest.
Really not that important. Whatever.
But you do have a story for us, don't you, Chalora? Maybe so.
I do.
Maybe so.
Is it story time?
So, some original Fire Emblem games that were previously Japan only are coming to the Switch. So we have a write-up from GameSpot by Kevin Nezovic to help us discuss it. Mario isn't the only Nintendo icon celebrating a notable birthday this year. 2020 also marks the 30th anniversary of the Fire Emblem series. Nintendo is commemorating the milestone by officially localizing the first Fire Emblem game for Switch. Is it the first? No. But anyway, the company announced that it is bringing the series Famicom debut entry, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, which up until now has never been released outside of Japan, to Switch in English on December 4th. In addition to full English text, Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light will feature a few new modern conveniences, including a rewind feature that lets you skip back to a previous turn, as well as the ability to fast forward through animations. Nintendo has also added a save state function to the game. So, being a Fire Emblem fanatic myself, this is not the first Fire Emblem game on the Switch. Just gonna say that right now.
Yeah.
I think they wrote it. I think they meant to write original
Yeah.
Fire Emblem
Yeah.
game on the Switch, but it reads wrong. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Come on, words. I'm a writer.
Right?
But
Yeah.
I love that they're kind of, so the first Fire Emblem game that came out in America was just called Fire Emblem. It didn't have a name. It didn't have like a subtitle. And that was for the Game Boy Advance, like way back in like 2000-ish.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with the series since then. But like, you know, I grew up and I was like, there were other Fire Emblem games, like there was like 10 other games before that one, and they just didn't release them further than Japan. And kind of the point of the game was that they were difficult. So with this Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, I think they're going to make it a bit American, and by American I mean easier. With this skip back function and the save state function. They did do this once before with Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, and it wasn't, I don't think Blade of Light was part of that. So I think this is technically either 2 games or a sequel to Shadow Dragon. I'm not 100% sure on the timeline for that. But they did do this before with Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, which was released on the 3DS, I believe.
Yeah.
And that was hot garbage. So um,
No wonder they're
Okay.
just like, let's just bring back the original, you know?
so should Nintendo be selling old titles rather than pulling them on their Nintendo Online service? And is there any older games that you'd like to see localized for the first time? Or what do you guys think?
I thought I was kind of concerned when I first saw it because they tweeted about it and they had a whole trailer with like Smash and how the main character from this game made an appearance in the original Smash, but then like in the description it said that the game had only come out in Japan. So then I was confused because I was like, oh, I thought the first Fire Emblem was the Game Boy Advanced one. So I was like, oh, is this like the original? Was the Game Boy Advanced version like a remake of that? But like, no, it's just a completely different game. Nothing to do with that. And because this one came out in the NES, so way before the Game Boy Advance. I was kind of concerned about the price point. But then I saw it's like $5. But they do have like a deluxe or like collector's edition that comes with like a case. It comes with like an NES like case, I guess, that like with a little book inside of it and a whole thing. And I think they're selling that, if I'm not mistaken, for like $50 or something like that. So on that front, I'm like, okay, Nintendo, girl, not that. But on the other side, I think it's a pretty affordable price, like for people to get into it. If they didn't do any changes to it at all and they just basically emulated it, I would be like, girl, just put it on the Nintendo Online service. But because, well, I guess the features that they added are technically features that they have on the Nintendo Online service anyway. Like if anyone has never played, Nintendo basically has a thing where if you're a subscriber to their online services, you can play old NES and SNES games. And in there, they do have features for you to have save states and for you to like rewind a little bit. So they could technically just like ported the game and brought it over there.
Exactly.
But I don't know if there's any kind of shenanigans going on behind the scenes with like maybe the developing of a new Fire Emblem game, and maybe they're like, let's just release this and keep them entertained for a little bit and make it a big deal because maybe we don't have an announcement for a new one anytime soon because of COVID, obviously. I would be very interested in playing this. I will probably get it. And I'll probably give it a try because I do enjoy Fire Emblem. I played it on like I played that original one. Well, the first one that came out in the West, in GBA. And I've played 3 houses. So I basically played the first one that came out over here and the last one that came out over here. So I'm definitely interested to getting into this one and seeing how it is. I loved Shining Force. I grew up with that as well. So this seems like it's going to be closer to Shining Force than the modern Fire Emblem games, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, what do y'all think about this?
I think it's cool for fans of the series who don't live in Japan to finally be able to play this game. But yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think they're probably using this to kind of gauge interest for another Fire Emblem game coming soon, TM. And we put our tinfoil hats on. That's my conspiracy. Like, this definitely feels like a move that's like, let's see if we can get people talking about this. Like, how are people feeling about this series, you know?
Right.
That's just kind of my opinion. I don't really have any like huge personal experiences with the Fire Emblem series. So if I were gonna get into it, I would probably play 3 Houses. just to kind of have like the more like recent like addition to the series. Yeah, I think this is going to be really cool for fans of the series who weren't able to play this game. That's kind of my thought on it.
Yeah. By the way, for clarification, the price for the digital version, which we didn't mention, it's also a limited edition. It's going to be available on December 4th, but they did say that it's going to be limited for the
Why?
like there's a fine print at the bottom of the website that says Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light, which, by the way, is also the name of the game. That's just like the translation for that first game. So it even though the game had a sequel, I think this is just like the main one. So they're not even including the sequel with this. Will only be available for a limited time.
I hate it. I hate it here.
I don't know why they keep doing that.
Why are they doing? They did this with the they did this with the 3D trilogy, All Stars or whatever. Like, just why is it limited? Especially the digital release. I get the physical
went out
copy.
and
Right.
bought it immediately because I'm a Nintendo mark. Like,
Here's the thing: if you want to limit the physical copy to say, oh, we're only going to limit because it's the anniversary edition, you get the physical copy. But a limited digital release makes no sense.
Right.
No sense. Unless, like, which I assume what they're going to do with the 3D All-Stars and Mario is they're going to split them into 3 different games and charge you 3 different times for it.
Mm-hmm.
Why do that for this? Like, I just don't. It makes no sense.
I don't know what it is about Fire Emblem series, but they always limit everything on it. They think that it's like
really?
an unsuccessful or something. I don't know what it is, but like they just always like, oh, we're only gonna release like just a little pocket over here. That's all, no more. Every single time.
That is very
like
odd.
even Three Houses. Like Three Houses was really big, but the initial release people couldn't get it. It's the same with the Switch.
That's
People couldn't
crazy.
get it. But
yeah.
I think Koga had a note that they wanted to say.
Well, I don't have really any experience with the Fire Emblem series. What I was gonna say is that I think that it's good that they're bringing that over so that more people can experience it. It's not gonna be, well, it is gonna be a pain to get now, because what I was gonna say originally was that you make older games easier to get, and that's something I've always been about, because a lot of games get lost in time and they get really expensive. So bringing that over here, people can play it, great. But then you ruined it when you made it limited release on digital. So you blew it.
Right.
But for people who are looking forward to it, I hope that, they enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I do have a more detailed situation from the Nintendo website for the anniversary edition. So the price is $49.99. And the collector's edition of the game will include a nostalgic, stylized, physical NES box and a replica NES Game Pack art piece with a protective sleeve that transports owners to the era of the original game's release. It also includes a 222-page Legacy of Arcania Deluxe hardbound art book and a game download code. It will be accompanied by an NES instruction manual, newly localized from the original Famicom release, along with a fold-out world map and a mini Nintendo Power Retro collectible. Oh my goodness. That's actually pretty cool.
For $50. Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would
Laura's face
pay
says
that
different.
much for it. I don't know if I would pay $50 for that.
I just don't understand. Like, well, I do understand because Fire Emblem is a very collectible game. Like, if you go on eBay and you look up Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, it's like $1,000 sometimes to buy that game. So they do like to make the game like more of a collectible rarity. So I get that, but I feel like in terms of like fandom, if it wasn't released in the West, how is anyone supposed to be like, oh yeah, the map of the game I didn't play, woo? Like,
right? Or like super hyped for the game. They don't know how good the game is.
What?
You can't really be nostalgic for it because like you didn't have that experience.
That's true. That's
I
actually,
didn't think about that.
yeah. I'm thinking some people will get it for the Nintendo Power collectible because I know a lot of people collect those. But yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, the game never released over here. So, like, why would people have a nostalgia and, like, oh my God, I need the world map. I need all of these things. That's actually a really good point. I didn't think about that.
They just want the money.
They do. I actually,
I'm glad it's not just the game though.
right.
For the $50.
Right. I do have a theory that we kind of talked about the Nintendo All-Stars thing. I have a theory that they're going to be remaking those 3 games at some point, and that's why they just wanted to give people a little bit of a glimpse. And I wouldn't be shocked if Nintendo, for the rumored 4K Nintendo Switch version, that they would have like Mario 64 remastered remake kind of thing as like a launch title for that. I wouldn't be shocked if they came out with that, and I wouldn't be shocked if like maybe next year or the year after they announced a literal remake for this game, like full 3D graphics kind of situation, basically the Three House treatment to the original Fire Emblem. I wouldn't be shocked if they did that at some point either, and that's why they're limiting the release. But
Now,
it's so weird. Like, why? Like, I agree fully with Koga on this. Like, I hate that in a lot of situations, like, games have to be, like, you have to rely on piracy to keep games alive for a lot of stuff. And you have to rely on fan translations and shit like that. So, to me, it is upsetting that Nintendo chooses to, in one hand, make stuff available, but then they're like, well, but it's only for a short period of time, right? And it's not like they're necessarily telling people how long it's going to be available for. Like, they said that the game is going to be coming out in December, but like they didn't say that it's going to be available for the entirety of December, like if it's going to be only for a year, for a month. It really, it's anti-consumer as well, because it's like, have you seen 2020? Like, have you experienced 2020 Nintendo? Like, are you just expecting people to drop everything to buy a luxury item like a video game? Like, video games, I feel like, unless you buy from people who are very consumer friendly, like Xbox, for example, with Game Pass, or like, you know, you could argue that like Steam or Epic Games, they have the free games and stuff like that. Steam has a lot of affordable sales and stuff like that. You would assume that, you know, people would try to be more consumer friendly, but this is very anti that, because it's like, well, if you don't buy the game within that time, too bad. Well, you know, maybe they don't want to spend money on games right now, you know? But yeah, anyway, Spin does have another Nintendo story.
Okay, before I get into that, I will just say, if that conspiracy turns out to be right, and Nintendo made me pay 60 of my US dollars for Mario 3D All-Stars, and then they remaster them like next year, I'm gonna be pissed.
here's the thing. If they release a new updated version of Super Mario Sunshine, I will lose my mind because I love that game so much.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I will probably
also
also
agree.
buy it because they've got me.
Like, I will buy Super Mario Sunshine, but I understand being upset.
I'm gonna be
after
mad
paying
at
$6 for that. Yeah.
I'm gonna be mad about it, but I will probably still give them my money.
Yeah, that's
How they get you.
yeah, that's the Nintendo thing. Like, everybody is always like, should we be buying these games that are essentially just like emulated versions of their old games? Maybe so. And then Nintendo was like, well, you fell for it, didn't you?
Yeah. Speaking of being mad but giving Nintendo money anyway, Nintendo
Well,
recently dropped the price of their single replacement Joy-Cons from $50 to $40. And we have a write-up here from The Verge by Chaim Gartenberg. Nintendo is dropping the price of buying a single Joy-Con controller down to $39.99. That's $10 less than the $49.99 the company originally charged for single controller replacements. The newly priced Joy-Con will be available starting on November 9th. Interestingly, Nintendo appears to be only discounting two very specific models of its controllers, a right Joy-Con in red and a left Joy-Con in blue, exactly matching the two controllers that are included in Nintendo's default blue-red Switch queue. So,
Nintendo, please.
I know, like, I saw that and I immediately thought, like, oh, they're giving people what they ask for, like, right down to the letter and nothing more. They're they're like, oh, so people want to just be able to replace the Joy-Cons on their Switch without having to pay an extra $10? Oh, well, we'll just make it so that it's only the default ones.
Right.
We're gonna be that petty and just do it down to exactly to the letter of what people were asking for. But yeah, what do y'all think about this? What do y'all think about? Is this any kind of solution to the infamous Joy-Con drift problem? Like, what are our thoughts on that?
Tomfoolery is what it is. It's just straight up tomfoolery and robbery, and they know what they're doing. They're just like, we're not going to fix it. We'll just charge you $10 less, give you one, and you get one option.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always going to be the blue one, because the blue one is the one that has the problem with Joy-Con drift. If you have that, it's only the left one.
So
they just-
silly.
Insane.
And it's like, oh, we're doing you a favor because we're charging you $10 less for it. But then you're going to have to buy another one once that one gets Joy-Con drift.
Right.
Fix it and charge me $10 less. And then I might not be mad at you.
Right.
But if I have to buy another one 6 months from now, doesn't that break too, though? Doesn't that have Joy-Con drift as well?
Not
Shalora?
yet. Not yet.
Oh, Nintendo.
Well, I guess I'll go get that instead.
Yeah, maybe we just all get Pro controllers.
I mean, listen, I wouldn't be shocked if that's what they wanted us to do all along. I think this is such a silly thing. Like, I was like, okay, come on, this cannot be their solution to this problem. But then I thought, it's Nintendo, so it definitely is exactly what they thought. They're like, surely this is not going to be an issue anymore. We made it $10 less. Surely people won't be complaining about that. And it's what we do these episodes live on Twitch, and it's what Dextralicious in chat said. We're not changing the production of the Joy-Cons, but you can buy them individually now. It's essentially what Nintendo said, and it's like, why haven't they addressed that issue? Like, sometimes they are like, oh, I don't see any issues. Hello, I pretend not to see it. Like, what is everybody talking about?
My mind is drifting.
And so is everyone's Joy-Cons, apparently.
Go ahead and end the stream, everybody. We're done here.
Suddenly we gotta go. Yeah, I don't have any other thoughts about this. I don't think this solves the issue at all. Because like y'all said, like, if people keep getting that same one that keeps getting the issues, and then they just eventually have to replace it down the line by paying another $39.99, then is that really fixing the issue, or is that just putting more money into Nintendo's pocket, which in turn they're not using at all to fix the issue? So it's like, who's winning in this situation?
Yeah, it makes no sense, and Chalora is probably right in that they're like, well, the Pro controller doesn't have this issue, so might as well go ahead and pay. I don't even know how much the Pro controller is.
I'm shocked
Granted,
they haven't said that before.
Pro controller is like $90 or something.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I can't say anything. Like, I bought the equivalent to, you know, Xbox's Pro controller, but I play Xbox all the time, and it is just a better version of the normal Xbox controller. But the normal Xbox controller doesn't have a problem in the basic manufacturing of it. Like, I can use it just fine. Having that is just something I chose to do. But like, if it's, oh, I've got to go to this more expensive controller to be able to not have this problem of Joy-Con drift when I want to play it in handheld mode, you know, or whatever the case may be. It's kind of ridiculous.
Watch us all be wrong like a week from
And they
now.
actually fixed it.
When no. When they like release like individual colors for like flashy new colors and stuff like that for like the original price of you know what I mean? Like they're gonna go for like $49.99, but they're like, but these ones are yellow.
They're already doing that. I mean,
Yeah. I wouldn't
it's
be
only the ones that got discounted.
exactly, but like the individuals, you know what I mean, like they're gonna be giving you other colors, and then it will put this all to shame, and everybody's gonna be like, oh wow, they weren't just trying to fix it, they just literally were coming up with a new product and they decided to change the pricing of that. Very, very interesting decisions on a weekly basis from Nintendo, but people still love them, so they're gonna keep Nintendoing as long as people keep buying, I guess. Speaking of what we're buying and what we're doing and what we're playing, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what we've been up to when it comes to the our gaming teams.
Can I just
What?
say though?
Oh
that,
no, what happened?
Just wanted to say
Uh-huh.
that the 3DS was a perfectly great console.
Never ever had a problem with my 3DS.
I've never had drift. I've never had
Yeah.
to replace it. I've never had issues with the 3D. I've never had a problem. I never lost my stick
Yeah.
because it had a little clicky thing at the back. Like Nintendo.
It was very well made.
Nintendo knows how to make mobile consoles. Like that was their niche because Sony and Xbox had their home consoles and they tried the PSP and they couldn't do it. Why? Because Nintendo had the mobile consoles.
Yep.
They owned the mobile console. And what could you do while you played your PlayStation? You could play your 3DS while you were
Right.
playing because it's a mobile console. So they had full reign over that, and they said, "Oh, let's take our mobile console brand and make it a home console at the same time." And it was like, this is hot garbage.
Right.
So I just feel like Nintendo is cheapening their stuff because obviously this wasn't manufactured to the top tier that we expect their mobile consoles to be. And it's interesting. I think that it's that way because like they have the success of their other thingies. They always like split off. Like the Pokemon company is a different company.
Right.
Yeah.
It became so successful it was like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
We're still with you, but like we're over here now.
Doing our own thing. Yeah.
We're being really successful over here by ourselves.
Yeah.
So you have fun making the shitty console and keep it up, because if you don't keep it up, Pokemon will fail. But Koga, did you have something to add?
I just wish Nintendo would do better. It's like they've done so many good things. They've done some messed up things too. But like when the Switch was about to come out, I had high hopes for it, and I felt that they've done great with it. Not perfect, but great. And it's like now you're having an issue with the controller, and instead of like just fixing it or just, letting people know that you're trying to find a solution, you're just like, buy this one. And Nintendo, what are you doing right now? Like, you're doing good, but you're also just doing some stuff that's making me shake my head.
Yeah.
And I hope at some point they fix this, because this is not something that people should have to deal with when they buy a product. You shouldn't have to worry about, okay, is it going to start drifting and then I have to go buy another one? At least, do something, fix it, some type of, options out there.
I try to fix it at least. Yeah. It just seems like they're not really trying, which is the worst part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Right. Well, it's over. Well, it's not over at all.
Sorry.
Well, we're done here. No, just kidding.
No,
We're
Nintendo
here.
is not going anywhere, y'all. No matter how many times we talk about them in a negative or a positive light, they have to their credit, they have survived through generations and decades, and so that's good on them. But yeah, what have y'all been playing? I actually have played I have played a game on the Switch, and it wasn't the best experience. But it wasn't Nintendo's fault. So here's what happened. So I tried the new Kingdom Hearts Melody of something. It's their rhythm game, Melody of Memory. They have a demo out everywhere. The game is going to be available for, and I happened to try it on the Switch because I was already playing it. And I was like, oh, let me just download this and give it a try. And the game is okay. Like, the music is wonderful, obviously. So for a rhythm game, that's going to be the main juice of it. Like, is the music good? Yes, amazing. I like that it almost works like you're fighting. Like, the characters are, what basically the game what the game looks like is like they're running towards basically a tunnel, and it shows like the background from the worlds that correspond to the music that is playing in the background, and you're basically fighting monsters. And when you're fighting the monsters, you fight them on beat with what the music is happening in the background. My issue with it is that there are certain things that flash on screen that are very reminiscent of the PlayStation symbols on the controller. So when you play Kingdom Hearts, like there's a rectangular figure that pops up when you have to press rectangle to do a special ability, and there's like a cross kind of thing that shows up that resembles the X button on PlayStation as well. So what happens is when you have those symbols that are so iconic to the Kingdom Hearts series, but then you play it on the Switch, you're like, oh yeah, I have to press the equivalent of rectangle, of triangle, excuse me, and I have to press the equivalent of X, and it just felt off to me that I was playing Kingdom Hearts on the Switch, but the prompts weren't necessarily aligned with the buttons that I'm supposed to be pressing on the Switch. Like, the button prompts weren't necessarily telling me like, oh, press, like they weren't telling me to press buttons that weren't on the Switch, but it's just like let's be real. If you're playing a video game and there's a green light that flashes in a semi-triangular form, what are you going to associate that with? Not the fucking Y button. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to associate it with that. So it was a very odd experience. I'm going to give it a try on PS4. Because I assume it's going to be a different experience on there, because the button prompts are going to make more sense with what's flashing on screen. So that was a not so positive experience that I had. Another experience that I had was actually Mario All-Stars situation, but it wasn't the new one. It's on the SNES online service that they have, and it's basically like a remake that they did for the SNES of the first 3 Mario games, and with like cute graphics, and it's like upgraded as if the games came out on the SNES, and the graphics are so cute on that. It's such an enjoyable experience on it, and I was playing it until I lost progress, and I was so far into the game, into the 3rd game, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to play this anymore. Because I forgot to save before I closed the app, and I didn't have a save state for it either, so I was like, well, it's over. Other than that, I keep playing Genshin. They just have the new, they updated the new panels, and I haven't gotten Klee yet. She's the new headlining girl on the scene. I haven't gotten her yet. I got a new friend though, but I keep getting like duplicates. That's my thing. I keep getting duplicates. I got Barbara again. I got oh my god, what's her name? Not Amber, Noelle. I got her again. I was like, can you just give me the new characters, please? Like, it's bad enough that I didn't get Venti on that first thing, but I did get a new one. I got Zinkyu. He's a sword water boy with very short shorts, and And funny enough, it coincided with me playing the storyline that he's a part of. And I was like, oh, that's very odd. I just got him as a character, and now I get to play him as a trial. So that was an interesting coincidence. But yeah, other than that, I'm still playing Resident Evil 2, and I'm getting very close to finishing Leon Kennedy's storyline, which is great. I'm loving everything about it so far, so I'm excited to get into Claire's perspective soon, hopefully. Spiritfarer, I also played a little bit of it, but nothing. Yeah, nothing to report here about that one. But yeah, what are y'all doing? What are y'all playing these days?
I started Genshin Impact finally.
Ooh.
Like barely for a little bit, and then I stopped.
Oh,
But
well,
I am gonna play it today.
yes.
So,
How are you
and
liking
then
it?
so far so good. I feel like I can't really say that I like it a lot because I like barely started it and then kind of got sidetracked having to do some other stuff for like school and things. But it's so far so good. It looks great. The music is great. I want to play it more. So there we go. I've been started that. Also playing Resident Evil 7 more. I think most of the way through that story, and that's been fun playing that again. And then Dead by Daylight, of course, because I'm obsessed. But yeah.
Yeah, well, you know how like last week I was just like, you know what? I kind of fell off Genshin. I'm just like, I don't know if it's taken over my life again. It got me back.
They got you.
They
Oh
got me.
no.
The new banner. I just I just want all the new characters, but I keep getting doubles. And that's basically the story of my life so far on Genshin. I've gotten a bit further into the story. I think I'm like adventure rank like 12 or 13 or so. And I am really enjoying it. I've been playing it pretty much every day so far for the past week. And hoping I can get some new characters. I would love that.
Yes, let's manifest that.
Manifest some new characters. New character summoning circle.
Gotta manifest that.
Love that. But I've also been playing, just a little bit though, the new Pokemon DLC, the Crown Tundra DLC that came out a couple days ago.
Yes.
I've been super busy last couple days for unrelated reasons. So I haven't gotten like a chance to play all of it or like get super far into it, but I'm really enjoying what I'm playing so far. The concept of the Dynamax adventures is like an interesting way to do the legendaries, in my opinion. Like it's normally when you're going for a legendary in a Pokemon game, it's like you got to go to this cave and they're in this place, and that makes more sense like with the canon of the story. I will say that it's kind of weird that like all of these legendaries are like chilling out in this one cave, like they all like are having a party together in the Crown Tundra.
I love
But
that. Just a little party.
if you don't think too hard about it, it's an interesting way to get the legendaries and like make it in a way so that you don't have to take up the entire area with like, oh, here's this cave for this one and this cave for that one, you know? So far I have Suicune and Articuno, and I'm looking forward to getting more.
Nice.
And exploring more of the story. Yeah, what's everyone else been up to?
So unfortunately, I haven't been playing Genshin Impact like everyone else. Like I said, my internet was out,
Right.
And when I'm on my phone, I'm usually playing Dokkan. Like this phone has officially been dubbed my Dokkan device. So I still like it, just that I haven't been able to have the time to play it, but I still collect like my dailies and whatnot. So I'm at like 6,000 whatever they call it, paragrams. Y'all know what I mean. Leave me alone. I have 6,000 of those. So at this point, I'm just saving them up for when I, get back into it, and then I'll probably summon on like a really good banner. Because as I know of right now, you don't like need to summon to progress. So I'm just gonna wait for right now. This past Thursday, I did start playing Doom Eternal's first DLC, The Ancient Gods Part 1. I love this game so much. I haven't played it since it came out back in March. I ran through it, and it is so much fun to play. It's very fast paced. The soundtrack is amazing, and get so many weapons and so many options, and it's very intense. So the DLC just came out earlier this week, and you would think like, DLC, okay, it may ease you in a little bit. No, it pretty much just acts like you just finished beating the game like an hour ago, and it just starts throwing everything at you, which I'm not mad about, but I died quite a few times. But it's playing it again, it's been so much fun. Like, it's probably been one of the best games I've played this year. I've been very happy with the Doom series for the most part, especially since they brought it back in 2016 rather, with that game, and this game just really didn't disappoint. It's up there as one of my favorites currently.
Nice. What about you, Chalora?
I maybe have only been playing Genshin.
Well,
all week I've been doing some performance stuff, editing and all that junk. And when I'm done, I just want to play something easy and fun and fruity and bubbly.
right.
So I'm at the very humble level of 34.
Ooh.
Super humble.
Love that.
And I saved up lots of gems, and I did 4 summons of 10, so 40 summons, and I still didn't get Klee.
Oh no.
So sad.
Remember that if you get duplicates, it's still good because you get the constellation potions and you can make your character stronger.
Right.
Which is fun.
New girlies.
This is good to know.
Exactly.
Good to know.
But I'm also like, I want the new girlies.
I know. But you get to try them at least, which is nice.
Yeah.
You can try Klee through the event menu or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And once you reach 32, 35, and then 37, if you do your commission quests every day, you can get keys that let you try those characters, and you get to experience their stories, which is fun too. So I just tried Jean, and she was super fun.
Nice.
Other than that, I played Overcooked 2, and that was an experience.
Nice.
Overcooked is so stressful.
Sometimes I'm like, how do people play this one player? And then sometimes you have a map and you're like, how do you people play this 2-player? And then so
yeah, as someone who worked in the food industry, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go into Overcooked because I don't know if I want to relive that.
Valid.
But it does sound like a very fun co-op experience, to be fair.
When I worked at Our Redacted, I don't know, I was like a one-person army. Like, I took the orders, I put the bills in, and I made the drinks. It was super quick. It took no time. So for me, I'm like, I want to get all the things done. And
yeah.
it just
like
you can't.
Right.
Throw lettuce across like a rift in the earth.
Not a rift in the earth.
But I do like that you can like throw the meat directly into the frying pan from across the map.
I love that.
Yeah, just chuck it.
I wish I could do that IRL. there's probably situations like that where people definitely do that, because it's a very stressful environment working in the food industry. Um, but yeah, that's awesome. I love everybody's different gaming experiences right now. Of course, Genshin's still taking over. 3/5 of the of the podcast, almost 4/5 of the podcast, and we love to see it. Before we go, um, where can people find y'all? What is everybody up to? We can go Chalor and then alphabetical order to make it easier for everyone.
If you dig a hole in the ground and you feel like you've hit a different kind of earth, and it's a little smelly, that's where you'll find me.
I love that. And what will people find you doing in that hole?
You'll find me over on twitch.tv/Chalora in the most inconsistent of times.
Same.
Trying to still finish Paper Mario and the Origami King.
Ooh, what a journey. How far ahead are you in it?
I am, I assume, 2/5 of the way through because of there's 5 streamers or whatever you have to defeat.
Oh.
So I'm gonna say that I'm 2/5, but I'm probably 2/6.
Right. No spoilers, everyone. What about you, Jam? Where can people find you on the socials?
You can find me at jam_5899 on twitch.tv, Twitter, and Instagram. Right now, mostly you'll find me sitting at my lab bench doing failed experiments over and over and over again, telling myself that it'll all be okay.
Aww.
And then no, I'm
It's fine.
It will be
yeah,
okay.
it's fine. This is fine. It's all on fire, but it's fine. And you'll catch me playing Cuphead this upcoming week on my Twitch channel.
Nice. Koga.
All right, so you can find me at Koga_Jangles at Twitter and also Twitch. I should be back live again this upcoming Monday, continuing the Doom Eternal DLC. I'm aiming to do Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, but it really just depends on what else is happening. And then maybe some Sunday mornings. I'm not 100% sure yet because I'm not a morning person. But like at my previous apartment, I would wake up and the sun was out, and I'm like, what a lovely day to play some old school games. But now here, I'm like, there's a window here and there's like a hallway, and I don't feel that way no more.
Oh. Yeah. What a situation. Sometimes it really is like that. For people who are not watching this, we have a special appearance by Lola. And she just flew off. And she just flew off. The second she got addressed, she was like, you don't see me. I'm not here. No longer can you see me. You can find me at Project Ruby on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. Those are my most, active platforms that I'm in. Right now, like I said, I am playing through Resident Evil 2. I am playing through Spiritfarer, and I just recently started a game called Wicked Willow, actually, which I forgot to mention. And it's a visual novel about queer witches. There's some lesbian storylines, there's trans storylines, a little bit of everything. So there's a ton of different endings as well. So I am excited to get into it a bit more. For full disclosure, I also the developer of that game did reach out to me to play it. So take that as you will. So I'm playing that on my personal channel. And yeah, what about you, Spin?
I am living over here in Dog Barking Central.
I love that.
And you can find me on Twitch at SpinBlend, on Twitter also at SpinBlend. And I've been playing a lot of Pokemon. We've been doing a lot of shiny hunting for a certain pumpkin boy, or Pumpkaboo. And We haven't found him yet. It's been almost 500 eggs. I might be having an existential crisis
Oh
about
my
it.
god.
Tune in to find out.
You also may or may not have a very fun announcement for the podcast listeners,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Maybe a certain shop that you want to talk to us about.
Oh, okay.
Dropping hints.
So-
We're dropping hints, Your Honor.
Dropping hints that I have a shop.
Yes.
Okay, so this week I did launch officially my soap shop, Spin Soap Cafe. I know I've mentioned on here before that I do make soap, and I've been working on a shop for months and months, and it's finally here. So I have 5 soaps in there right now. It's all like coffee and dessert inspired soaps, and I'll be making a lot more on stream. They'll have a lot more in the shop coming soon. So yeah, you can find it on Etsy at Spin Soap Cafe.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Can I eat it?
No, you can eat it.
No eating
You're
the
not
soap.
allowed to eat it.
No,
No eating.
They do look very yummy. I'm not gonna lie. They are dessert inspired. However,
I am not responsible if you go to the hospital for eating the soap.
however, do not
Legal
eat it.
disclaimer.
Don't you do
Don't
it.
eat it.
Don't be tempted by the wonderful smell, the wonderful fragrance. And yeah, you can find us at Just Gaming Tingz on Twitch and Twitter. We were going to be streaming Crash, but there were some technical difficulties, which we hopefully
We'll do that this week.
yeah, we'll figure them out as soon as possible, and we can get that going for y'all. Turns out, our streams are a little bit harder than a regular stream because we do have a commentary co-host and all that stuff, so we're trying our best, y'all. We're trying our best. But the weekly podcasts happen every single Saturday on Twitch. We do them live. Can you believe that? You probably can. There's stuff going on screen all the time. There's you can probably tell that this is live, but it's okay because it adds a little bit more fun to it, if you will. We're also available on podcast services such as Spotify, so make sure to follow us on those. Listen to the podcast on there. We go live every week on Saturdays at okay, I'm just gonna say my time zone, and then y'all can help me out with your time zone. So it's 6 p.m. BST, which I actually think is gonna change soon because it's no longer gonna be summertime. It's a mess. Time is a flat circle. It's like 1 p.m.
1 p.m. Eastern Standard.
1 p.m. for me and Shalora.
Yes, which is Eastern
And then-
Standard, and then 12 p.m.
And noon
Central.
Central.
There you go.
Yep.
Same here, 12 p.m. Central.
There you go, everybody. Times are gonna change because the summer times are ending. So just stay tuned, okay? We're gonna be keeping you notified. But yes, everybody, we're gonna be back next week with a new episode. We will see you then. We're getting closer and closer to the new console generation, so there's gonna be plenty of stuff for us to talk about in the next upcoming weeks. So we'll see you then.
Yeah, like 2 weeks.
Right? Oh, that's gonna be a chaotic month. Cannot wait.
Oh yeah.
Not wait.
Bye, y'all. See y'all next week.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Bye.